So once the SafeQ server is installed, once the PMS installation is completed, you need a bit of configuration of the machine side as well. First log into the machine as your admin using the admin password. So here I am giving my username and password which I has into the machine. So initially it is after the machine factory initialization, so it will ask for the existing password. So that's a security policy. So I am doing it with the Xerox machine, so it's a security policy for Xerox. Okay, so I changed the password initially. It says your password has been successfully updated. You will be logged out in order to change to take effect. Now login back again because I got logged out when I changed the password. So we are logging back again. So now we need to configure the machine. It says because I am using the default password itself, it's saying it's in data breach, it's included and all these things. So there is something called as adaptive learning. If we need to disable, we can disable it. It's kind of AI. So it will give us personalized suggestions, like personal app workflows when we are logging into the machine if the login is enabled. So we are not doing it now, and there is, you can see, general setup, connectivity, login permission accounting, apps, security, configuration watchdog, and fleet orchestra. So go to the connectivity setup and wired connection, and we need to assign the printer a static IP. So click on edit, and here we need to give the IP address of the machine, because if there is no DHCP reservation, the IP of the machines, the printers could be changed. So right now if you can see, it is in DHCP. So I am assigning the same IP as static, and I am taking out the self-assigned address from 0.0.0. I am clicking on hide DNS settings. I am giving domain name which I created earlier, which is in the AD makeup. So the same thing I am using is pms.local. I am changing the DNS 8.8.8 is the Google DNS, and 10. It will give me an error. Okay, let me see. The IP, it said IP address has to be in the range, but here I can see it's perfect. There is no issues at all. Still it gives me the same error. I can see it says it has to be in the range by maximum of 255. Yeah, here I given one number addition by mistake, and click on apply. So it will give us a warning. Again click apply, close it. So the IP address, the static assignment of the IP address onto the machine is done. So now when we are installing the printer, either we can use the IP address or the host name of the printer. So here the device, the printer is communicating to SafeQ through SNMP, and the protocol is to be HTTPS. So firstly, initially we have to check that HTTPS is enabled. Yes, it is already enabled. You have to check all HTTP requests will be switched to HTTPS, and there is already Xerox default device certificate. So if you want to create a new certificate, you can click on new certificate, security certificate. So when you click on the security certificate, you will be going to security certificates page. You can see Xerox device certificate. So I chose here Xerox device certificate. The mandatory fields to be filled is marked as an asterisk. So here the main thing you have to take care is the timing. By default it will be automatic using NTP. I am disabling it. So here I can see it's matching my time, 12:22. You can see in the right side bottom in my computer. So I am not changing it. If you, for some reason, if you are changing it, the device will restart, which may take some time for the device to reset and come into the ready mode. So here the device is communicating with the SafeQ and for getting consumable alert, paper jam alert, everything. it's using SNMP. So here you can see there are two protocols. One is SNMP v1 v2 and the second one is SNMP v3 protocol. SNMP v2 will be get community name, it has to be public, and the set community name has to be private, and copy and paste it to confirm set community name, and trap community name will be SNMP underscore trap, and save it. It's normally not required. If it is required, you have to do SNMP v3. Most of the places you can use SNMP v2 itself. SNMP v3 configuration is a bit difficult compared to SNMP v2, but today I will be doing it with SNMP v3. So I'm enabling the SNMP v3. I enabled it and I will click on save. So you can see you allow SNMP v3 set is enabled already. So if I am searching SNMP again, so I prefer this way by searching, by typing in and searching. So I can easily go directly instead of going through subtrees, scrolling through subtrees. I can go directly. I'm changing to MD5 DES. So you can see the username X admin. It is by default it is X admin capacity. X admin, it depends on the customer requirement. You can change it. And authentication password, I am giving a password. The same I will be pasting in privacy password as well to avoid confusion. So if the customer has some specific requirement, you can fill it as per the customer based on the customer requirements. So here I am giving both the common password. As you can see, there is print drivers, remote client accounts enabled. So there we can give the driver path for the remote clients. So if you're going to login permission and accounting, you can see login methods. It will be none by default, and you can see login methods. It will be username. You can see control panel login is assigned there. Username and password validate on the device, and website login. Username and password validate on the device. Here you can see accounting methods. It is showing as network accounting. By default it will be none. This machine has configured earlier with Papercut, EQTrack, several print management systems, so it is showing us network accounting. So I'm just applying save, and you can see here there is device user accounts, user permission, login methods, and in security also. And here if you're going to accounting methods, accounting workflow, if it is in pre-authorization and capture usage, you have to change it to capture usage. Pre-authorization comes when the quota and or account limits, or there is quota allocation or account limits are set up. So here there is no need for pre-authorization. If it is there, you disable it. So if you're going to accounting, you can see user ID, account ID. This is default. There is nothing to change. And go back to login and permission. To double check if you are sure that it is everything is right, click check once again. So there is nothing wrong. For the first time configuration, you have to do like this. Make sure everything is in right, and you can see user permission locally on the device, internal database. So user permission method, if there is no like internal database, one is in LDAP, one is in SMP. So if there is no PMS, you can login using SMP and login using LDAP. So if you're clicking on login methods, you can see control panel and website methods. Control panel login, it's in the device, validated on the device, and website login is validated on the device. Control panel login, normally you can select either validated on the network or convenience authentication. I will just show the difference. If you're selecting convenience authentication, you can see alternate control panel login. It needs to be username and password validated on the network. So if the card reader or not something is not there, you can touch the panel alternate login and you can login. Website login has to be on the device. So if you are changing it to validated on the network, you will be losing that option because it is grayed out. And you can see here when you are choosing the convenience authentication, you will be able to see the options for alternate control panel login, website login, and username and password validated on the device. It's just a prompt. It's okay, you can leave it as it is and click on OK. And if you're scrolling down, you can see web service enablement, Xerox secure access, card reader setup, reader not connected, conventional ticket setup required not configured. It will be automatically configured when there is some steps called as device initialization. When we do it, it will get automatically configured. And you can see in login methods, web services, click on enable all and then click on save. Then you can see several things, Trellix embedded, and here type in EAP. EAP is a Xerox term, Xerox device particular term, which stands for extensible service setup. That is which is allowing the Xerox devices for additional apps or third-party apps to be getting implemented on the device. So select export passwords, and here if the customer doesn't have a proxy, select no proxy. And as you can see, export passwords to external services is already checked, and rest of things you can do as default. And if you're clicking on EAP registration, that is the options how we are adding the SafeQ, the print release button, everything. The third party option sits on EAP. And if you're going to HTTP, web service is already enabled everything. If you're going to HTTP, you can see the earliest setup what we did to enable HTTPS. I given EAP again, extensible service setup, you can see. So it's sometimes it's a bit slow because the machines, I applied export already, but it's not got applied. It didn't got applied for some reason. I applied it again, and I applied again, saving again. This time I hope it will be getting saved. Yes, it got saved. So for the Xerox, there is a good feature, very good feature, which is called as EAP, remote control panel. EAP is already there, and there is something called as remote control panel. If I click on the support tab, support button here, you can see remote control panel here, and troubleshooting, building impression mode. If I click on remote control panel, it will initially say remote control panel disabled. You can click on edit. There are three options. One is for admin. First you have to enable. There is a for admin, and admin are diagnostic users, and for all users. Since I'm selecting, I want only solely for the admin, I'm selecting only for admin. And if you're giving start remote session, you can see the machine panel is getting open in the device. It will say initiating the remote control panel, please wait. Now you can see the machine display itself and showing on the top, it's saying a screen sharing active. You can lock it, and only the screen will be accessible with admin if you're locking it. So it's a really good feature. If you're doing it in remote, you can see the machine panel to observe what's happening in the machine when we are initializing or when we are adding the devices, when we are making the changes. So there is something called a fleet orchestra to configure multiple machines using the same feature. If you are selecting in accounting again, here accounting method is already in network accounting. Accounting workflow is one thing which we need to configure. Here I just make sure it is current accounting in network accounting. I am going to Soft SafeQ management interface. This is which got installed when we install the SafeQ. So you can see my license is valid. I activated the license, but I grayed it out to, I don't want to make my license some private detail to be in public. So that's the reason why I grayed it out. So click on our device. You can give any name. Unlike some other PMS, the best part with SafeQ is once we add the printers here, we can create templates to add back the other printers, and we can upload it to the SafeQ directly. Here anyway, I'm not doing it. It's a bit complicated. It will be for the beginner, so I'm not doing it. Here once I go into printers, and the main good feature is you don't have to install all the print queues in the device, in the PC, in the server. So here I am naming it as test text, and location, all the mandatory fields will be marked with asterisks. Here you can see location or description. We can give anything as we wish. So it's popping up already, which was given earlier. I am typing in as IT. It's not mandatory, and you can see device group. You can create different device groups like color, black and white, or a finance printer. So you can add multiple devices into these groups, and you can see spolar controller group. If you have multiple spolar controllers, everything you can select from here. And network address, by mistake I give it as admin. It has to be the IP address of the printer, the physical printer, physical device, where we are going to install the embedded application. So when we are doing this, what we are doing is we are not installing the printer, we are installing the embedded application for this SafeQ software in the device, in the printer. So what you can see here is terminal type by default will be none. It has to be the vendor specific. Since I am using the Xerox driver, I am going to buy Soft SafeQ terminal for Xerox. It has to be vendor specific. If you are using Rico, you have to use Rico. And accounting method, since it is no accounting, I'm going to choose device dependent accounting. That is offline accounting. Normally it's not used. I'm going to use device accountant. And accounting driver, you can leave it as empty. And you can see here terminal node by Soft SafeQ terminal application and card or pin. So when we activate the license, we will get the options to add a pin in the users tab. In the initial videos which I did when I didn't activate the license, the pin option was not there. So here we had to give the admin username and admin password for the device. That is for the MFP. And when we click on save changes, and you can define printout button, direct queue if it required, and tag stand for the machine features for the particular device which you are installing. You can uncheck if something is not required, but I need everything, so I am not unchecking. Here you can see SNMP v2 and SNMP v3, both protocols are there. Read only public, read and write private, and message encoding is UTF-8, and SNMP v3 also is there. So we will be using SNMP v3 in this exercise. You can see backend network port, nothing, you don't have to touch nothing here, keep it as it is. Only the SNMP v2 and SNMP v3 parts needs to be changed, since most of the times I will be giving the context as v3. And privacy password and authentication password, you can see it here, which we given on the machine. Here in SNMP v3 protocols, what we assigned earlier, we have to give it here. We have to give it here in the SafeQ panel web interface as well.